You see, one of the biggest mistakes people make in relationships is thinking they have to chase someone to keep them. That the more you call, the more you show you're available, the more attractive you become. But let me tell you something powerful. Real attraction doesn't come from chasing, it comes from becoming. The moment you stop trying to convince someone to stay and start becoming someone they want to stay with, everything shifts. Think about a magnet. A magnet doesn't run after metal, it simply attracts it. It doesn't beg, it doesn't plead, it just is. And that's enough to pull things toward it. That's the kind of energy you need to embody. If you're constantly seeking validation, texting nonstop, or bending over backward to please someone, you're giving off the energy of lack. And lack is never attractive. Instead, work on becoming so secure in who you are that your presence alone speaks louder than words. Let your actions, your calmness, your purpose, and your growth do the talking. Women are incredibly intuitive. They feel when a man knows himself. They feel when a man has direction, has boundaries, and carries himself with quiet strength. That's what draws them in, and that's what keeps them there. The truth is, you don't need to prove your worth to anyone. You need to know your worth so deeply that the right people naturally recognize it. When you live in alignment with your values, when you show up consistently for yourself, when you're not desperately looking for someone to complete you, you become whole. And that wholeness is magnetic. Now, I'm not saying you should ignore someone or play mind games. That's manipulation, not magnetism. I'm saying show up authentically, be present, be kind, but don't abandon yourself in the process. A man who knows how to love without losing himself is irresistible. He becomes someone a woman wants to be around, not because he's perfect, but because he's grounded. He's not shaken by silence, by space, or by distance. He understands that attraction grows in mystery, in strength, and in purpose. So if you want to be like a magnet, stop over-explaining, stop over-giving, and stop trying to force a connection. Start building yourself, start healing, growing, and showing up as the best version of who you are. Let your energy be so powerful that people feel your presence even when you're silent. Be so focused on your path that anyone who walks with you feels inspired to rise higher, not because you ask them to, but because your very presence invites them to. Because the truth is, when you become magnetic, you never have to chase. Let's talk about something that separates men who keep women effortlessly from those who constantly struggle to hold on. Emotional discipline. And no, I'm not talking about shutting down your feelings or pretending nothing affects you. I'm talking about mastering your emotions in a way that allows you to respond instead of react. That right there is one of the most magnetic traits a man can possess. You see, emotions are powerful. They can build bonds, but they can also destroy them. When a man is easily triggered, constantly losing his cool, or needs reassurance every time something feels uncertain, he begins to feel more like a burden than a safe space. On the other hand, when a man knows how to regulate himself, when he's able to stay calm, measured, and clear even in moments of conflict, it builds immense trust, and trust is the foundation of any lasting connection. Women naturally lean into men who feel emotionally stable, not because they want someone emotionless, but because they want someone who can hold space for their own feelings and hers. If you're the type of man who crumbles at the first sign of emotional intensity or lashes out when something doesn't go your way, you're not giving her a reason to feel safe with you. But if you show that you can handle difficult conversations, manage your moods, and face challenges with a level head, that's where true respect is born. Emotional discipline doesn't mean bottling things up. It means knowing what you're feeling, accepting it, and choosing a response that reflects maturity and self-control. It means not sending that angry text just because you're upset. It means not raising your voice just to feel heard. And most importantly, it means not needing someone else to regulate your inner world for you. You take responsibility for how you show up, regardless of what's happening around you. Now, I know it's not always easy. We all have wounds, triggers, past experiences that shaped us. But part of becoming magnetic is doing the inner work to make sure those things aren't driving the car anymore. Because when you show that you're in control of yourself, she'll feel like she can let go with you. She can relax. She can trust that you won't fall apart when things get tough. That's rare, and that's powerful. People think attraction is just about looks or charm, but the truth is, emotional discipline is one of the deepest forms of attraction. It says, I know who I am, I can handle life, I won't make you responsible for my storms. That makes a woman feel safe, not just physically, but emotionally. And when a woman feels safe, she stays. Not because she has to, but because she wants to. Because she sees a man who doesn't just react, he leads calmly and confidently, even in the chaos. And that kind of man is unforgettable. Let's get one thing clear. There's nothing more attractive than a man who knows where he's going. A man who has a mission, a direction, a purpose. When you meet a man like that, you feel it. It's in the way he talks, the way he walks, the way he makes decisions. There's no confusion about who he is or what he stands for. And that clarity is magnetic. That kind of focus and drive naturally draws people in, especially women. When a man lacks purpose, everything else feels shaky. He becomes easily distracted, emotionally dependent and reactive. He starts looking to his partner to provide meaning, to make him feel worthy, to give him a sense of direction. And let me tell you something. No one wants to carry the weight of being someone else's purpose. That's not love, that's pressure. And pressure pushes people away. But when a man is on his path, when he's chasing something greater than himself, whether that's a career, a passion, a mission to build, lead, create, or serve, he becomes centered. He's not looking for someone to complete him because he's already walking in completion. He's fulfilled by the fire that burns inside him, and that fire becomes a beacon. It becomes a gravitational pull. It says, I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. You're welcome to walk beside me, but I'm moving either way. That kind of energy makes women lean in. It doesn't beg for attention, it commands it through presence. And I don't mean arrogant or dismissive energy. I mean that quiet confidence that says, I've got work to do. I've got dreams to build. And when a woman sees a man operating at that level, she begins to admire him, not because he's trying to impress her, but because she sees him living fully, passionately, intentionally. That admiration turns into respect, and that respect is the foundation of deep, lasting attraction. Purpose also keeps you emotionally balanced. When things go wrong in a relationship, a man with purpose doesn't spiral. He doesn't lose himself in the chaos. He steps back, reflects, and continues walking his path. He doesn't fall apart because he understands that his life is built on more than one relationship. It's built on values, goals, and a vision that goes beyond the moment. That kind of man becomes a rock, a stable force in an unpredictable world. And believe me, women notice that. They're drawn to it. Because it creates security, it creates trust. If you want to be magnetic, stop making women your purpose. Let your purpose be bigger than any one person. Let your life speak for itself. Your actions, your habits, your growth. When you're on your mission, the right people will be drawn to you, not because you ask them to follow, but because your direction inspires them to walk beside you. Because at the end of the day, a man who leads his life with purpose never has to convince anyone to stay. There's a difference between leading and controlling, and it's a difference that defines the way a woman experiences you. You see, leadership in a relationship isn't about barking orders, making demands, or always being the boss. That's not strength. That's insecurity trying to wear a mask. True leadership is about calm, grounded confidence. It's about showing up in a way that makes the people around you feel seen, safe, and inspired. A magnetic man doesn't need to dominate to feel powerful. He doesn't try to control situations out of fear. Instead, he leads from a place of inner stability. He's clear about what he wants, and he moves with quiet certainty. He's assertive without being aggressive, firm without being rigid, and women are deeply drawn to that. Not because they want to be ruled, but because they want to feel secure in a man's presence. Secure that he knows himself, secure that he can navigate life with wisdom, and secure that he won't crumble when challenges arise. You see, control is born out of fear, fear of losing, fear of not being good enough, fear of being left behind. And when a man tries to control a woman out of that fear, whether through jealousy, manipulation, or constant neediness, what he's really doing is creating distance. Because no one wants to feel caged. No one wants to feel like they're constantly being monitored, corrected, or judged. That's not love. That's insecurity. But a man who leads with confidence, he doesn't need to hold someone tightly to keep them close. His presence, his energy, and his integrity do that naturally. He makes decisions with clarity. He communicates with purpose. He doesn't play emotional games. He sets the tone not through control, but through consistency. And when a woman feels that kind of leadership, she begins to trust it. She begins to relax into it. She begins to follow not because she has to, but because she wants to. Now, leadership also means responsibility. It means being accountable for your actions, your words, your direction. It means owning your part in every interaction and being willing to correct your course when necessary. It means listening, not just to respond, but to understand. And when you combine that level of responsibility with steady confidence, you create a foundation that's nearly impossible to shake. There's something incredibly attractive about a man who can say, "This is where I'm going, and I'd love to have you by my side, but I'm going either way." That doesn't push her away, it draws her in. Because leadership isn't about forcing anyone to follow. It's about inspiring them to. And when you lead with confidence, not control, you give her the freedom to choose you over and over again. Because when a man knows how to lead from strength instead of fear, a woman never forgets how safe it felt to follow. One of the most powerful things a man can ever develop is self-respect. Not ego, not arrogance, but true, deep, unshakable self-respect. Because everything you attract, everything you allow, everything you tolerate stems from the way you see yourself. If you don't respect you, no one else will, and that includes the woman in your life. So many men make the mistake of abandoning their standards, their boundaries, even their identity just to keep a woman interested. They think if they say yes more, give more, tolerate more, they'll be more lovable. But it doesn't work that way. Women don't stay with a man who gives her everything at the expense of himself. They stay with a man who knows what he stands for and never bends just to be liked. A man with self-respect doesn't need to prove anything. He doesn't seek validation because he already validates himself. He knows when to walk away from what doesn't serve him. He knows how to say no without guilt. He holds boundaries not as walls to keep people out, but as gates to protect what matters inside. That kind of strength isn't loud, but it is unforgettable. You see, women are drawn to men who live by principles. Men who aren't swayed by every opinion, every mood, every moment. It creates a sense of safety when she knows you can stand firm. Because deep down, what a woman wants isn't someone who worships her. It's someone she can respect, someone she can trust to remain grounded no matter how things shift around him. Self-respect also shows up in how you treat yourself, how you speak to yourself, how you take care of your mind, your body, your goals. When you operate with discipline, when you refuse to tolerate chaos in your own life, you naturally raise the standard for the kind of energy you allow from others. And that silently tells a woman, this is what I expect, not because I'm demanding, but because I value myself. The most magnetic men in the world aren't the richest, the most handsome, or the loudest. They're the ones who walk into a room and don't need to say much because how they carry themselves already says it all. That posture, that peace, that presence, it comes from self-respect, from knowing who you are, what you deserve, and never settling for less out of fear or loneliness. Don't be the man who gives everything just to be accepted. Be the man who gives to himself first, so that when he gives to others, it comes from overflow, not emptiness. When you lead with self-respect, you teach people how to treat you not through words, but through your choices. And a woman will notice, she will feel it, and she will either rise to meet you there or remove herself, both of which are a win. Because when a man respects himself, he never has to beg for respect from anyone else. There's an energy some men carry that you can feel before they even speak. It's not arrogance, it's not showmanship, it's quiet, grounded, and undeniable. That's masculine energy, and when a man learns how to harness and radiate that energy, he doesn't need to chase women. They're drawn to him naturally, almost instinctively. Because masculine energy isn't just attractive, it's comforting. It makes a woman feel like she can exhale, like she can lean into him without fear of being dropped. But let's get something straight. Masculine energy isn't about being tough or emotionally closed off. It's not about being aggressive or controlling. True masculine energy is rooted in emotional security, direction, and presence. It's in the way a man stands firm when life gets messy. It's in how he handles pressure with clarity, how he protects what he values, and how he moves through the world with purpose and patience. A man radiating positive masculine energy doesn't need to control the room to be felt. His presence does the work for him. He listens more than he talks. He acts more than he promises. He doesn't get shaken by temporary emotions or small tests. He sees the bigger picture and moves from a place of grounded confidence. That's what makes him magnetic, not just to women, but to people in general. Because people gravitate towards stability, and masculine energy, when healthy, is stable, calm, and protective. Women are biologically and emotionally wired to respond to polarity, that natural dance between the masculine and the feminine. It's not about roles or labels, it's about energy. When a woman feels safe to be in her feminine, to relax, to feel, to express, because the man she's with is steady in his masculine, there's harmony. But when a man is too reactive, too unsure of himself, or too passive, she starts to feel like she has to lead, to take control, to compensate for his lack of presence. And that imbalance creates distance. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. But if you want to be magnetic, you do need to show up with consistency, be dependable, be assertive without being forceful, make decisions, speak truth with compassion, and most of all, be deeply secure in who you are. Because nothing radiates masculine energy like a man who isn't threatened by life, by emotions, or by a strong woman standing beside him. Masculine energy also knows when to be still. It doesn't rush, it doesn't chase validation. It knows that sometimes the strongest move is to wait, to listen, to observe. That kind of patience, that restraint, that calm, it's powerful, and it creates space for a woman to feel, to trust, to open up. That's the kind of energy that doesn't just attract, it holds, it keeps, it anchors. Because at the end of the day, a man who radiates strong, grounded, masculine energy becomes the one she never wants to walk away from.